For years, I've been intentional to try and build the music around the main theme of what's being taught that day by the teaching pastor. It's not always possible to find thematic songs that fit, but usually the goal was to bookend the message with something that hits as close as possible. If you do a post-message closing song at your church, this song would be the most crucial to tie into the message. The last thing you want to do is to close with a song that speaks of something totally different subject-wise than what was just being taught. This requires pre-planning with your teaching pastor for sure. I like to meet with whoever's preaching a week or two ahead of time to get a better idea of what biblical passage they are preaching from and what the main theme is going to be. That gives me time to dig into the Word myself and ask God to lead me to the right songs that connect with the theme. For me, these songs are rarely fives. More often than not, they are threes. They are usually personal or congregational response songs. As I've been studying more about church history and ancient Christian practices in the past few years, I discovered something that has reshaped the focal point of building worship services and choosing songs. This central focus may seem obvious to you, but it was so interesting to me that this has not always been the focus of our church's gatherings in the past. The one thing that seemed to be consistent throughout the generations of Christ-centered gatherings is the gospel. Sometimes this is referred to as the Eucharist or communion, but it seemed to be the one main hub that everything else branched from. This was a little bit convicting to me because I think sometimes, whether you're a teaching pastor or a worship leader, we could be guilty of building everything on the assumptions that people have heard the gospel and know the gospel. And even if that's true for the most part in the context of the people we serve, there is great value and power in remembrance. So, from that point forward, I made sure to always present the gospel each week, either through song, scripture, or just telling the story. I love to sing songs that speak about what Jesus did for us on the cross, but they don't always fit every week, so it's important to be creative about communicating in different ways besides just music. We'll talk a little bit more about that in some future sessions. There are many different ways to choose songs and build worship services. Hopefully some of these ideas I shared here will be helpful in your church's context.